This is very fresh. As you can tell, I just got out of a yoga class. I wanted to keep it real authentic, as in I haven't even fixed my ponytail. When do you feel this way too? Like when you experience something that you think is amazing, whether it's, a food, a restaurant, a place, some kind of service, a trip, something, right? Like, don't you just want to immediately tell people? I do. I am so sweaty that I couldn't even put my coat on. And as I was walking up to my house, my neighbor came out and started walking her dog. And I was like, "Do you do yoga?" Much younger than me. Like, "Do you do yoga?" I'm like, "Oh, sometimes." It was like, I don't think I was vomiting on her, but I was very much like, first person I've seen that was not in class with me. The class got out 2 minutes ago. It's down the street. And that's something else that I'm so excited about too. When I think back to before I had kids, the distances I would drive to go to yoga class or attend like anything, it's mind blowing because now I would not do that. So I'm exceptionally excited because this is down the street, like a 1 minute drive. Okay, so this is what I did. I did hot yoga, which you might be like, okay, snore, that's been around forever. Yeah, that's why I'm telling you about it because hot yoga has been around, obviously, for thousands of years and accessible on every corner, no matter if you live in a city or a suburb. I have been doing yoga once a week for 25 years in all capacities. So, in yoga studios, in gyms, at home. It's not something I ever became like I would think of some of my friends like a yogi, where you have a membership and that's your thing, right? And you can do all the handstands and everything. For me, it's always just been just sort of this baseline thing to have. And it's not, yeah, it's a workout, but it's almost like how people, like if you grow up going to church or, where it's just like this sort of this anchor thing in your week. And I haven't done a group class in a while. As I told you, I've just been doing my fitness at home. Um, I went to one class at this studio, well, I don't know, 6 months ago. And it was more mellow, which is obviously what I wanted and in that moment. And I liked it, but I was just like, okay, it's kind of it's it's so bizarre in there. But then also I really liked it. So I was like, okay, well, what does that say about me? So this class, I'm on their email list and they were doing a class for a spring equinox, even though it's not the equinox yet. And it was for free and it was hot yoga. And I thought, ooh, it's on a Sunday. This sounds good. So I just immediately wrote back, yeah, I'll come. I had no idea what I was getting into. Also, mind you, I don't do a ton of research on things. I like to just feel if it's a yes or a no for me, and then I go based on that. And I'm telling you about this because I have such an experience, a long history of doing yoga, that this was phenomenal. It was like military yoga. The yoga teacher's name was Louise, who I then later found out was the owner of the place. And it has these different branches of the studio, which is just like, okay, I'll get into that in a second. The room was dark, which I love. I don't like doing yoga when it's bright. That's like, yuck. But he was like up and up and up. And I was like, oh gosh, like it was kind of funny. And it was a 75-minute class. And normally, if you go to a 75-minute yoga class, hot yoga class, it's usually an hour. There's like, you do a few minutes of warm ups. I don't know how much you know about yoga, but if you know nothing about yoga, you're probably not listening to this. So, you know how you have the warm ups, right? You do the salutations, a few sequences, and then you get into like the nitty gritty of the flow. And then you usually have like a 15-minute cool down. That's usually how 75 minutes is structured. I don't have yoga teacher training, but I've been to enough classes to know this is what to expect. This was so different because he weaved in, like when it was done, it was pretty much done. He weaved in the cool down within the class. It was, like I said, yes, it's 99 degrees in there, but it was the way that he did this, the way he structured class, which was so, just for me and my body, so amazing. And so he would do, and the music was so loud. And I'm like, I you could tell that I wasn't a regular because I'm like, "What?" Like, I know what all the poses are called and stuff, but I'm like, "What?" It was and I don't you know me, I love to dance, I love music, but I'm not, like, real into the heavy metal, that's not on any of my playlists, but for some reason, it just worked, and he did a mixture of things. And later on the website, when I went to look it up, I'm like, what is the class schedule here?" It showed that he was a DJ in where was it? I think Miami, and so that he had his own music blend now, and, like, yeah, I dug it. Um, and then some parts, he would just turn off like, there would be a red light on, and I didn't, like, expect that, like, "Alright." It really did kind of feel I've also never been in the military, but I would liken it to that, but in a it's like if you need a kick in the ass or if you have a friend or someone you're thinking of who would need, like, a kick in the ass, like, say they're feeling low or, you're always supposed to do the opposite, right, to get yourself to the next step. So, you're supposed to do the opposite, right? Like, if you're just in this funk and you can't get out of it, then do something more energizing. And I just think about all the yoga classes I've been to, even the super sweaty ones and the ones that you're like, "Ooh, I love this instructor." Nothing compares to this class that I went to. Um, Usually they have this like, you know, kind of like preach, right? They'll give some sort of lesson or I mean that's just what yoga is, right? And this, he was he would turn off all the lights and it would be pitch dark. And then everyone would just be frantically doing bicycles. Or it would be pitch dark and you would be holding goddess pose. And then he would be like, "How you do anything is how you do everything," which we all know that phrase, but it was like, I don't wanna say loving because I don't know him, but it kind of felt like this, like, sort of loving, safe space, but also you're getting your ass kicked, and it's not like a hit workout, right, where so you have this, like, drill sergeant, go, go, go. It was this mix of, like, high and low, and then everyone would be like, "Oh my gosh," like, he was just, pose after pose, and it was a really great sequence, and then he would say, like, "Stop," and, like, turn off all the lights or whatever, and it kind of got you to think about, like, uh, the girl next to me took a break for a second, and he goes, "We're all adults here. If you're needing a break, take a break." And I thought, everybody knows that in yoga. Like, you can get into child's pose whenever you want, um, if you, like, really need to. But it was very cool to hear this drill sergeant of a yoga teacher to be like, "If you need a break, take a break." Usually when you're doing these more intense things, right, the attitude, the undertone of that kind of stuff is like, "Push, push, push," which is why I don't go to HIIT classes and things like that, because it's just like, "Chill, stop." Like, I'm 43 years old. No one's gonna tell me what I have to do. You know what I mean? Especially if you're in, like, a class like this. It's like, yeah, if I need a break, I'm gonna take a break, or if I need to, whatever. But it was just great how he's, like, pushing everyone, and then he's like, "We're all adults. If you need a break, you can take a break." I thought that was cool. It was unusual, but the class was just wild, and I don't mean wild like how everyone says wild nowadays. I mean, it was, like, feral with, like, the lighting and the no lighting and the music and how he was conducting himself, and it was like and at one point, I just started laughing. I was like, "What?" Like, I need to breathe so I don't faint because 'cause I'm not used to being in a group class, especially in a, 99-degree room with other people. I mean, I've done it, I just don't it's not something I routinely do. I recently read something, the title was, "Is Gym the New Church?" And I'm not gonna delve into that, but the title kinda made you think, it's sort of just what I needed, and so if you're feeling, like, low or stuck or you kinda need some just, like, this release, that sounded odd. I would totally recommend this specific class. And I started thinking about energies too. And that's something was I don't talk about this much in my life coaching certification. It's technically called the Dharma coaching or life purpose. It's really heavy, I think, for some people to hear like life purpose. So I don't use that term much. But when I was going through my certification last year, there was a lot of content that we learned around feminine and masculine energy. And, we have both of those energies within ourselves, right? So some of us tap more into one than the other. And some situations call for you to show up differently. And I think about that when I think about fitness and how Pilates is more feminine, it's more like go with the flow. And yes, it can be strenuous, but it's not like, say, weightlifting or HIIT, which feels more raw, which would be like more of a masculine energy. And think about the fitness that you do. I'm a fan of cycle thinking. So to do different fitness during different phases of your cycle throughout the month. But sometimes I get maybe a little too much with the feminine exercises, the feminine kind of fitness. I go for a short walk. I try to most days. I don't run. That's different, right? Running is more of this masculine energy. And I'm in a spot in my life where I need to show up a little bit more with this assertive masculine energy in the decisions I make, in how I'm interacting with people, specifically difficult people. And that's not my default. My default isn't this masculine, like fiery energy. If we want to talk about astrology and your birth chart, I don't have any fire signs in my chart of my main placements. I'm mostly water and air, and earth. I'm a Pisces sun sign. That's what people usually reference is the sun sign. Whereas I look at other people who are a lot more just assertive by default, they are more fire. So anyway, it was like, I don't want to say kick in the pants because I haven't been a sloth, but it was like, ooh, this is feeling good. This is reviving me in a way that I needed. And if you haven't found that level, that energy in the fitness that you do, I would totally recommend that. This class was free, and so I thought it would be easy. Not that I was looking for a challenge, but I was like, oh, it's down the street, it's free, it's unexpected in my inbox. Cool, I'll go to it. And like I said, I thought it was great. I thought it was amazing. And then it also made me think from a marketing perspective, this is what you do, right? This is what you're supposed to do. What you're supposed to do is give your best for free. I know that sounds weird. You're going to give your best stuff for free, and then the paid things are what? Mediocre? No. But anything I've ever learned in my 16 years of being an entrepreneur is that and all of the courses that I've taken, and is that you're not being like a Scrooge with what you can share. And that may be hard to hear because you think, oh my gosh, if I give it all away, then what? But just trust me on this. This yoga class was a good example of that. And it's not always free, right? Usually you have to pay for this class. But it was a spring equinox promotion. And after this class, I like sign me up. What's the schedule? What are the packages? Which I probably wouldn't have tried it unless it was free, because I would have been like, oh, I know what hot yoga is. I've been to this studio before. It was okay. Kind of funky, whatever. So if you are thinking about, if you are an entrepreneur, solopreneur, self-employed, freelance, think about that. If you were to just offer something for free, just a one-time thing, it doesn't have to be always, and see really where that goes, because I got a lot of value from this class, and now I'm going to pay for classes. Don't be intimidated by that. Just, give it a try. And is there anything else I want to say? No, I will. Oh, yeah, I wanted to go to the website real quickly because it's just, what I thought when I looked at it for the first time, which was 2 minutes ago? I thought, well, this individual is really just sharing all of the things she likes. It's kind of bizarre and random because you don't really see that. You see, it's like you go to the website, modataiyoga.com, and the categories are yoga, coffee, fashion, music, and hair. You're like, what? What? I mean, every yoga studio has its own vibe, even though they're teaching the same thing. Um, so it's sort of like, well, I guess that's everything Louise likes, right? He also, maybe I should ask him if he wants to talk or be on the podcast. So he does personal styling, but it's mostly it's got this like recording artist rock and roll kind of vibe. I think that's what he says he's styled in the past. So it's definitely a look. It's not like, hey, help me find my look. It's like, this is the look that he known for. And then he has some clothing racks in the back of the studio, and it's all like sequin pants, but not sequin pants like that you could get, I mean, at Nordstrom. It's like vintage 90s sequin pants. It's just very bizarre. And then coffee, like he has his own coffee. I mean, kudos to you for just giving it a shot. I don't know what his sales are of the coffee. I don't drink coffee, so it's not something I'm going to explore. And then he's a DJ, and then Moto X. Louise, aka Moto X, began DJing at after-hour parties in South Beach, including the iconic Versace mansion. His musical journey began as a self-taught artist delving into the world of music creation with a passion for Chicago house, Detroit house, and Latin house. Merging decades of these diverse musical influences and festival experiences, Louise developed his own musical style. Now the owner of the yoga studio, he shares his original music during his classes. See, didn't know that when I went into it. His versatile music spans from meditation music to house beats, catering to every facet of yoga, mind, body, and spirit. And then it says, listen now. So, I mean, it's just, talk about somebody saying yes to themselves. Let's do it. So I will link the Modatai Yoga in Ann Arbor so you can explore and see if the schedule fits. And so that would be my date of the week. And man, it feels good to have a good experience. Because I don't want to bring this episode down, but I feel like lately I've been exploring things that are interesting to me, and it's kind of just been like, meh, you know? And that can feel kind of defeating. Like, yes, you're not supposed to go into things with expectations, but I think really in your heart, there is a little bit of an expectation to be like, this is something I was curious about or I normally would enjoy. Why was it not that great? I think I'm sick of things being not that great and wanting them to be great. And so this yoga class was. It's sort of like if you try to plan with someone to meet up with them for lunch or coffee or tea, whatever, and it may be hard to get on someone's calendar, but then think about it if it's like a last minute thing, like that day or the day before. And for some reason, usually those situations, it's easier to connect with people. Or at least that's been my experience. And that's kind of what this yoga class feels like. Enjoy the rest of your day.